Welcome to Officina Grandi Riparazioni in Torino. I am Carlo De Marchis, Group Chief Evangelist of Deltatre. 1,000 people around the world focusing on sports and technology and sports. And today we will spend 40 minutes or so discussing technology, advanced technology and data in football. Some logistics first. Please contribute, I think the link is somewhere here, to social media with, you see the reference there. But also, if you have questions, there should be something on the right of your screen, if you're not in full screen, where you can ask questions to the panelists. I joined the sport business world very early, like in 1987. And I started working in football with UEFA Champions League at the very beginning in 1994. So it's a long time. I'm very old, as you can imagine. And if I look at where we are today, clearly there's a lot of things, and we are during Euro. We just saw amazing games yesterday already. When we finish this for another game between England and Germany, that will be quite amazing. A lot of things are the same. Football is not a sport that really innovates a lot, but I think in terms of media and the technology around it, we are clearly in a different space. And that's what we will talk about today with some people that are deeply involved, both in technology and football. So please join me on screen. Today we have Morgana Lalli, who works at the Innovation Lab at Deltatre, here at Officina Grandi Riparazioni, OGR, Pietro Marini, who heads the Innovation Lab for us, and Adriano Bacconi, who's a TV personality, football analyst, and innovator. So just quickly, maybe spend a few seconds to describe better than I did who you are and why you think you can contribute to the session today. Adriano?
Hello, Carlo, and everybody. I'm a coach and also a physical trainer. In the last 20 years, also a match analyst in football. But my focus is always had to analyze the things, the sports events with the data in an objective way. This is my mission. I start up some companies in my professional career, and I hope that we can improve our analysis also in the future with the new tools like machine learning and AI, and also we can help the coaches to improve their skills with the technologies.
Thank you. Pietro?
Thank you, Carlo. Hello, everyone. Pietro. I lead, as Carlo said, the Innovation Lab in Deltatre. The Innovation Lab in Deltatre is basically the central entity responsible for the coordination of innovative efforts throughout the company and acts as a center of knowledge as far as rising technologies are concerned, mainly, obviously, AI and machine learning.
Morgana?
Hi, everyone. I'm Morgana. I work as a data scientist from the Innovation Lab at Deltatre. I am a biomedical engineer, and I was very fascinated by the technical aspect of the sports. And now I have this great opportunity to work in the field that analyze and continue to try to improve this analysis.
So I think you understood we will be talking about football, data, and kind of big data, AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. But it's kind of a buzzword, big data, AI, ML. It's easy to throw it there. Unfortunately, today we're not talking about blockchain and NFT. Otherwise, we would have the full picture of things you can use in conversation just to be cool. But Pietro, maybe you can share some light on why do we think it's relevant at this stage to use this kind of technologies and methodologies in a sport like football?
Sure. First of all, to answer this question, we may want to focus really quickly on what AI is. Basically, a branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. Going a bit deeper, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we must differentiate between artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, and artificial general intelligence, AGI. In ANI, we have been seeing a lot of progress lately. Specific models are capable of performing the specific tasks that they are trained for. Examples are smart speakers, self-driving cars, object detection algorithms, and so on. On the other hand, there has been pretty limited progress in the field of AGI, that are basically AIs capable of carrying out multiple tasks concurrently. This area is still vastly unexplored and will require a significant amount of years to show relevant results. Just to provide a basic example to better explain the difference, an AI that is specifically trained to play chess may defeat the chess world champion, but if the room they play in catches fire, the human champion will flee while the machine will burn down. Diving deeper into the benefits of AI in the sport data field, we must also highlight the difference between two disciplines that are often wrongfully considered in full overlap: data analysis and artificial intelligence. While the former analyzes the vast amount of past data to extract insights, generate reports, and predict future likely events and behaviors, and does all of this requiring a huge amount of effort in making assumptions, testing, and fine-tuning the input variables in order to achieve a satisfactory result, AI and its tools, mainly machine learning, are able to make assumptions, test, and learn autonomously. In this case, therefore, the human engineer does not need to code for each and every possible action-reaction scenario. This makes it pretty obvious. It's pretty clear how AI is beneficial to every industry it may be applied to, including sports, obviously, if obviously there are the necessary inputs available. In the sports industry, this translates into the possibility of making deep analysis on past data, factoring in data sets of sizes that would have been hardly manageable through classic data analysis models, swiftly identifying recurring patterns from past data, and performing highly accurate predictions as far as the likelihood of a future event happening is concerned. Obviously, there are also some downsides. We identify two in particular. First of all, the overall amount and quality of the data that is inputted and fed into the system, and the computational resources needed to run AI and ML models on the input data. The first limitation may cause the outputs to be not only inaccurate, but potentially dangerous and misleading if included in the decision-making process, while the second may make the deployment of the full system not feasible due to budget constraints. And this is particularly true when dealing with multimedia data, such as video footage.
Okay, so that's very interesting, but also very at the theoretical level. So let's go maybe more in the pragmatic level with Adriano and understand how is really this kind of technology improving, and if you want, you've been there, so in the day-by-day, the performance, and there are many aspects, but let's focus on the performance of the teams, the insights for the coach. How does it work in real life? Because, you know, we're sitting in offices mostly. You very often are near something green where people play ball, I guess, more than us for sure.
Yeah, Carlo. As Pietro said, the amount of data produced to the sports world in general and in football in particular is now basically unlimited. Machine learning and AI are crucial to distinguish the real useful signals from the complex noise of the data. And the need becomes particularly pressing in real time, where the coding and transmission of information to decision makers is even more complicated. But the limitations are no longer technological, I think, but organizational and cultural. In the first years of 2000s, Prozone, for example, the fast tracking system delivered in Premier League, changed the organization chart and the technical staff and their workflow. Nobody knew how to use this data, so Prozone sold an additional service to the clubs. They landed the operators with the know-how in the clubs who were mostly researchers from the John Moores University of Liverpool, trained and assigned as the technical staff. So, with the arrival of a new generation of performance indicators able to analyze not only the actions of the players, but also the relationships between them, it will be necessary to train new data analysts able to read and transfer this new layer of knowledge. In fact, current staff, I think, do not have the necessary skills.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. So, but have you seen real difference when people use this technology? Just to be very blunt in the question. Have you seen performances advancement and basically clubs winning a game because they become better through the season to use this kind of technology and methodology?
In the last 2 years, a new tool called Virtual Coach Football with Virtual Coach that I realized with Math&Sport, a spin-off of Polytechnique of Milan, is as adopted by Lega Serie A, and all coach has this tool on the bench. So I saw in these 2 years 2 tricky situations. The first is the workflow. So the people, the technical staff doesn't use this data in real time to make decision. And the second is the technological problem. We need to change the tools, the instruments, the equipment inside the venues. But I have seen also the good things. For example, in the one of the last matches of this championship, the coach of Turin, David Nicola, complimented these strikers for the pressure applied on their opponents during the after-match press conference. They have had this high indicator throughout the match. Once it was called dirty work. Today it's a parameter that we can check in real time.
Okay.
As soon as a player slows down, the coach can intervene to make the most appropriate decision. So artificial intelligence can help and valorize human intelligence in real time in the pitch.
And that's my team, by the way, Torino. Not doing great, but still it's my team for life. So, as always. More on, we're talking about data. And I remember when we started in 1994 with football, and then we went to, doing FIFA World Cup and a lot of other, we are now doing Euro. We have more than 150 people around Europe. Some have come back because there are less matches now. We were collecting at the beginning a limited amount of data. Then with the advent of more technology, obviously the data that we are available today are very different, both in terms of quality and depth. Maybe Morgana, you own this data intelligence part. Can you tell us a bit what's happening now? What is the situation now in terms of quality and depth of data?
Of course. Yeah. As Adriano was saying, the ability to extract information, to analyze the performance and making decisions come from data, and generate the more the better, because more data means to have reliable results, because we can collect more information to be sure of the results of the analysis. So thinking about data, one of the biggest change across the year is related to amount of the information. We now speak a lot of big data instead of the small data. Big data is a complex and massive data set that the conventional processing techniques cannot manage. it can be seen as an evolution of small data, where small data is information simple enough for human understanding in structure and volume that want to respond to a specific task. Big data instead are being a lot. Are used to answer to multiple questions, having a big impact, a large impact in making decision, and also for long times. Big data is in fact characterized by the 3 V's that are velocity, volume, and variety. Volume, because the amount of data is huge. We are speaking about terabytes. The variety, because contains multiple forms of data in terms of sources and formats. We can have weblogs, social media interaction, and sometimes we need to put all together to be able to make a deeper analysis. And the velocity, because as Adriano was saying about the virtual coach, we need to collect, store, and analyze the information also near real time or real time. So, of course, these characteristics arise some technological challenges, because we need to find out to ingest a wide variety of data. We need to find out a secure, scalable, and durable repository to store data, because sometimes we may have some sensitive information. We have to analyze all the information together, that is quite complex, and we have to transform data in a way that is consumable, so from which we can extract some insights. Therefore, the technological advances responsible of this growth regards both the services and the resources, with the development of specific tools and frameworks that are continually improving. An example, speaking about AI and machine learning, could be TensorFlow, that is a comprehensive, flexible ecosystem of tools, libraries, and resources that the developers use to build machine learning application, feeding them with big data, like the predictive analysis, for example.
Okay, I think Pietro wanted to add something on this, maybe?
Yes, maybe a bit of a dive into the data gathering services that we provide as a company, just to give a wider view on what is collected and at a higher level how it works. As you were saying, Carlo, we are active in the data gathering field since the mid-90s. Obviously, as you were saying, the depth of data has increased drastically. We started with what we call first-level statistics, so goals, shots, cards, fouls, offsides, something pretty basic that doesn't require, obviously, any kind of specific technology if you think about it today. But then, obviously, throughout the years, a lot of additional features have been added, and these are what brought us to where we are now, basically. We collect millions of data points for each single match. We collect and compute single-player passes, ball touches, and distances. Obviously, this was all enabled by significant software evolutions and developments, providing us with the tools to carry out this collection, and most importantly, of extensively verifying and adjusting the collected data in order to ensure the highest level of consistency and accuracy possible. One of the most outstanding, let's say, milestones in this evolution came around 2005 or 2006, when tracking system started being deployed in football, basically allowing the collection of data concerning positions, distances, and speed of everyone on the field. So the 22 players plus the 3 referees and the ball. As we are a premium quality service provider, our work, our effort does not stop with the final whistle. We go beyond that and also carry out an extensive quality analysis, as I was saying earlier, deploying a dedicated team of operators that scout full games to ensure, again, the quality of the output of the delivered product, also looking and considering what we have been saying until now. So the fact that the quality of the input data is then what really defines the level of the output that is then fed into the systems that allow us to carry out predictive analysis and innovative KPIs mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so I want to shift the focus now for a moment to who is at the real center of everything we are talking about, which is the players. as athletes and as sometimes businessmen or businesswomen. First with Morgana, and then maybe with Adriano. It's for Morgana, just what are the kind of data that, from a data science point of view, we can use, track, and use about the players?
I believe that before analyzing the types of collectible information about athletes, it's important to mention the purpose of this collection. Athletes, as we said before, continually seeking new technologies and therapies to gain a competitive edge to maximize both their performance and their health, because of course to an athlete it is important to preserve a good health. This is achieved through several different types of analysis that ranging from the motion analysis, so how and how much an athlete is performing, to the environmental analysis, so how the environment and the weather may affect the player. These analyses are based on different types of data that we can group in 3+1 categories. The first three are the tracking data, or positional data, the biometrical data, and the skeletal data. While the last one is the psychological data that is a subjective information collectible only via questionnaires, so not included in this our analysis. In fact, the first three types of information can be gathered in two main ways: using the cameras or optical devices, or using the wearable sensors. The cameras has the advantage to be non-invasive, but they may have some obstacle issues. Instead, the wearable devices do not have this problem, but they may perceive as invasive for the players. So coming back to the data, the positional data refers to the athlete's positioning, so about tracking and speed. This information is very, very relevant to extract some basic facts that are not so basic, like how a player ran, the max speed, and many other information. The biometrical data instead concern the heart rate and the athlete's physiological parameters. This information is very important because it allows us to monitor athletes during performance, both in trainings and in games, and also to monitor the physical condition of athletes. In fact, a specific kind of an analysis called injury prevention falls in this field. And finally, the skeletal data refers to the body limb reconstruction. Collecting this information via AI, the data is ingested in collecting this data through cameras. This data is ingested in AI algorithm that help us to reconstruct the limbs. In fact, this information is used to examine a specific gesture or reconstruct an action.
And so let me go to Adriano now in two ways. I know you have an opinion on skeletal especially, but we have recently read that Kevin De Bruyne, the Dutch player, has hired an analytics company to help in the negotiation with Man City. So it seems they are reacting to this thing that is happening. But in general, what is their acceptance and reaction to the use of data, very often on themselves? So what is the vibe with the players? Because I know you have a first-hand experience with that.
Yeah, I think that again, there are a lot of resistance to use the data in depth in football. De Bruyne is an exception, in my opinion, in the landscape of football transfer market also. There are some exceptions, like I don't know if you know the startup in the UK called Abacus that has produced algorithms that measure chemistry between the players and compatibility with the team's playing style. For example, according to these two indicators, it predicts how the market value of a player could change when passing from one club to another. For example, following these algorithms, the two best clubs in Europe for English striker Harry Kane would be Manchester United and Juventus. But we again far for the Moneyball model. Only some exception there are in this scenario. But allow me to come back to the skeleton analysis, because Carlo, I think this is the new important technologies to analyze the performance of the players, because this analysis give us the movements of the arms and feet and the orientation of the body and the hand. So we will be able to know not only what happens on the pitch, but also why it happens. What does a player see before taking action? What does he think? This is why I speak of cognitive match analysis for the future of our area of analysis.
How far, Adriano, sorry, how far are we to really use something like cognitive match analysis in reality in a game?
I hope that we can introduce in Italy this technology for the next championship, for the next season. There are already a company called Okai that in Italy realized already the GLT and the VAR that can create the infrastructure inside the venues to collect this kind of data in the real time and delivered this information on the bench immediately. But important to create the new algorithms, the new machine learning engine to analyze this kind of information and give the killer information on only the killer information on the bench. This is more important.
Yeah, for sure. You have to kind of sublimate what is relevant in terms of insights on top of all the amount of data and technologies. Let's move, if you want, to two different aspects with Pietro. I know that we're doing something quite relevant with leagues, with clubs and leagues, and especially with leagues. So there is an idea that all this data, who is involved is the player, but then the player belongs to the clubs play in a league. So there is a hierarchy in sport, in football in this case. And I think data is important for leagues. But also maybe let's touch also about how this kind of data can be used for media and for fans, for the storytelling. I know, Pietro, you have quite an interesting story about that.
Well, yes. First of all, let's start by taking a step back and trying to understand why there is this need of advanced data. It's not just something that is nice to have. It's becoming something that will be easy and will be mandatory on all levels surrounding the sports ecosystem in general. Fans are now exposed to an amount of content and a content offering as big and varied as ever before. Therefore, leagues and federations are now in a situation in which they must compete with each other to attract and retain fans' attention and interest. And obviously, the best way to do this is to create fan engagement tools that provide and present the information and the insights in a way that is not only fan-friendly, but also possibly interactive. In Europe, we're going towards something that in America has been the standard for the last 50 years, basically. So a competition within leagues, not necessarily different sports, but also different countries. We have now the Italian fan that does not necessarily focus on Serie A only, but is also interested in Premier League, in Liga, in the Bundesliga, and so on. Obviously, these tools and these platforms through which we can propose these insights and reach fans are vary. We have obviously TVs with TV and broadcast signal with standard graphics, on-air AR animations and overlays, commentator information system for commentators and journalists to share additional information. We then obviously have own and operating web and apps with infographics, social media, second screen apps, and so on. And we have OTT players, OTT platforms with overlays and interactive experiences. Central to the innovative deployment and to the delivery of this information and these insights is the concept of data ownership. Leagues are in a position not only to create the content and to create the insights, they are also able to choose when and how they are presented to fans. This obviously beyond, again, attracting and retaining fans, which is obviously something that increases the value, the overall value of a league or a federation or the TV rights and so on, is also a great way for enabling additional sponsorship opportunities. Think about, again, own and operated web and app. Interactivity and gamification also allow for additional revenue streams. Think about fantasy and betting, and this is obviously what in the end federations and leagues are most interested in. If we want to provide an example of who is doing what and who is doing it well, basically we can talk about what the Bundesliga is doing, DFL with STS, that is a joint venture between us, Deltatre, and the DFL, the German federation. And AWS, basically they have created a dedicated team of data scientists and engineers whose goal is basically to extract relevant insights from in-game data, displaying these insights on screen and providing them to media partners for multi-channel delivery. They are probably in the world of football, they are between the first to have done this. I know that Math&Sport also is doing something similar with the Coppa Italia and the Supercoppa Italiana. And I believe, as we have already seen in some sports that are more in need of this kind of entertainment because of the long pauses between one action and the other, thinking about American football, baseball, and so on. This is something that is coming also to European football in general.
Yeah, one thing that we have seen through the years is we at Deltatre have developed through the years a video player for OTT and a video platform called Diva. And the way we've been able to use data, not only to augment the experience and personalize it and making it interactive, but also create different experiences. Because we have the data, we can use in those events where we have multiple cameras, those data to drive the experience, to make it a very different experience from TV. We call it beyond TV. So being able to view maybe 16 camera views of the same action synchronized, to be able to switch to the radar view of the pitch. I think data are not only per se a storytelling tools, but can really change the fan experience if you combine it with other content like video, live video, and so on.
And let me also add, Carlo, that the most important point of this is that fans are ready, as we often say, in the fans are ready. Fans are really hungry for data, hungry for engagement.
Yeah, and let's go to Adriano. Pietro mentioned Math&Sport. I think you're an advisor and maybe investor in Math&Sport. Tell us what you do with Math&Sport, and especially what you do in Italy with Math&Sport.
Yeah, thanks for this question. I have recently talked with the match analyst of Mourinho, and he told me that the Premier League doesn't have any live coverage during the match. FIFA tried to put a tablet in the hands of the coaches in World Cup 2018, but with little success. Lega Serie A, as a managing director, Luigi De Siervo, a visionary from this point of view, who was fascinated by the football virtual coach, a tablet app that publishes customized views, performance indicators, and alert processing tracking data with machine learning and AI in real time. Virtual Coach is a way to make the data democratic, also offering it to less wealthy clubs, and to raise the level of competitiveness of the Italian teams. Investments are also made to improve the accuracy of the raw data by equipment venues with better tools and infrastructures. The data will also be an enabling factor, I think, for the future Lega Serie A media company. So this is the data-driven vision that Lega Serie A has for the future.
Thank you, Adriano. I think what I've seen through the years in terms of, and I think what also Adriano said at the beginning. So one thing is having the data, the way to collect the data, the technology to analyze this. Obviously, you need a mix of people like Adriano and Morgana to understand what insight we can extract from the data. But not only in terms of workflow and in terms of skills of the people in the receiving organization, in this case, the football organization. If you don't create a continuum, you just have a technology, as we know, as often we say, we have a solution search for a problem. I think we're not there. It's not that bad, but there is this kind of evangelism, because of my role, or education that we have to do in the sport and football business. I think the more you will see example, it's something that I've seen in other sports. Take swimming, okay? If you've seen Olympics or swimming in general, in the past, you would see, the event, people swimming, someone winning, ding, and someone has a gold medal, all the world record. Now we have augmented reality graphics, mixed reality graphics in the lanes. It's almost impossible to watch a swimming competition without that now. So I think even for this kind of next-gen match facts or whatever you call it, both in terms of the storytelling and the use by coaches and players and clubs, you need the adoption to generate more adoption, basically. And we need to work together as an industry to improve this. I think that's very important. I wanted to close a bit quickly. We have a few minutes left. What do you see next happening? So this is what we are doing today and a bit tomorrow morning. What do you see next happening? Maybe let's start with Morgana, then Pietro, then Adriano.
We spoke a lot about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Currently, we have several examples of the application of this technology in sport that are continually growth in the usage and the inequality due to the continuous developing of the technologies behind them. Some example that I see like very actual and maybe like a future trends could be three big families of AI and machine learning algorithms that are pattern recognition, the predictive analysis, and the archive content restoration. The pattern recognition is a branch of AI that focuses on the recognition of patterns, shapes, and the classification of data by a computer. So about everything that can be detected by analyzing a video feed. In this category falls several applications like face recognition, object detection, and the skeletal tracking. Example could be, as we said before, the identification of the ball, the players, the field, some specific action. Instead, the predictive analysis is a method that examines current and historical data to predict future events, identifying trends and behavior. Because we need large quantity of the data, the core is the big data, and the possibility that we have to collect every time more information from different point of view enable us to have more reliable insights. In fact, the model to predict the sport win-loss prospects are based on this kind of algorithms. And finally, the archive content restoration algorithm, I believe, will be a new good trend because it aims to improve the quality of the old matches and the historical contents that often are corrupted in some way, stored at low resolution, and sometimes being black and white. In this family, we can find three main categories. The first, that is called decrapification, that aims to remove the image artifact. The second is the de-oldification, that colorize the black and white footage. And the last one, that is the super resolution, that works on improving the quality and the speed of the content, also compared to the current standard.
Grazie, Morgana. Thanks. Pietro and Adriano, you have 1 minute each.
Yes, really quickly. The basic aspect of what we're saying here is that, and the main power of AI is that it fits perfectly with other technologies, and it does not possess itself any specific limitation to integration. A good example could be 5G and everything that 5G will enable as far as the data transfer from clients to central processing entities will allow, also from a in-venue fan experience, for example. In general, any kind of innovation that will be introduced in sports, as it always happens, will be somehow seen as a controversy. Just think about VAR a couple of years ago when it was introduced, and now go and ask anyone if they would be willing to remove VAR from football as we know it. And basically, this resistance is mainly simply for ideological reasons, as Adriano was saying earlier. We do not need to eliminate the human aspect of sports and unpredictability, but we need to use AI to complement what we already love.
60 seconds for Adriano now.
I'd like to talk, Carlo, about the cultural next steps. I took match analysis to television many years ago, a piece of road we also made with Deltatre when we took the Magma system in the most important Rai Sport talk show Domenica Sportiva. I love to define the football match as a three layers cake following a book of Russian painter Kandinsky titled Point and Line to Playing. The first layer, the points analysis, allow us to study the actions of the players when they touch the ball. Below there is the second layer, the lines analysis. That allows us to make, for example, the analysis of the departments or the path of the ball by connecting these points. Then there is the third deep layer, invisible to most, which is the area analysis. For example, the area of players' availability to receive the ball, a parameter of virtual coach. It's often at this level that we understand the reason behind what happens on the pitch. This is what AI measures today. We must be able to tell this on TV by creating new concepts and therefore a new metaphysical reading of the game.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I really have to close now. Very complex matter. Everybody, I'm sure, is more confused than at the start, but maybe curious about it. I need to introduce what is happening next in this event. So thank you, Adriano. Thank you, Morgana. Thank you, Pietro.
Thank you, Carlo.
At 5:45, so in 1 minute, dance performance, Strings in the City, Unwired Dance Theater. Then at 6, an urban and green future for our post-pandemic cities. That's something I would really want to see. Thank you, everybody, from Deltatre and Adriano. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.